Gus T Renegade, Justice, thank you for tuning in to the cows. Hopefully you will get useful information to help you understand racism, what it is, how it works, and to solve problems expeditiously. Efficiency counts for a lot. We will be back early next week. I don't have the exact show time in front of me because I'm not looking at the schedule, but I will make sure to announce it before the end of the broadcast. And also I want to make sure that I plug Justice's blog is now on the front page, so you can look in the links and take you right to Justice's brand new blog. And also make sure that folks support Back of the Bus. His website, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. Again, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. Today's guest, again, using Facebook as a weapon, try to have connections with other people who are sharing useful information, interesting information, info that I think is related to racism, and that's how I found out about our guest for today's program. He is a member of he is the president, not just a member, president of the Southern Heritage 411. They do a lot to educate about I think they would say the proud history of the southern area of the United States. He is also a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And interestingly enough, he is also the former president of the Asheville, North Carolina branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Very interesting indeed. I think you all will. I think you'll be really fascinated by what he has to say, and I'm glad he could share a bit of his Thursday evening with us. Our guest, Mr. H.K. Edgerton. Mr. Edgerton, are you with us, sir?
God bless you, sir. I certainly am, and I really do appreciate you having me with you. Did you hear me?
Outstanding. Glad to hear from you. Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Okay. Wow. I guess for folks who, if they haven't seen some of the videos that are up online and other material, written interviews as well, could you kind of give them a little more background information about who you are and what you do exactly?
Well, I'm just a country boy from the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. And basically what I do is I give a lot of speeches about the role that black folks played here in the Southland of America before, during, and after the war between the states. Certainly, these folks who supposedly won that war, have inculcated in the thinking processes of not only black folks in the South and white folks, that there was some virtuosity coming from the North to come here to end the economic institution of slavery. And in doing so, utilizing now in this decade the NAACP as a lead organization to condemn the glorious banner in which Southern people fought and died, and especially those folks who look like me, who earned a place of honor and dignity under, and I'm talking about the Christian Cross of St. Andrew or the Confederate flag in any form in which one wants to take it. Are you still there, sir? Hello?
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. I am here. I was muted. I can hear you, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. That is a great start. I will have more questions as we go, but I want to pass to my co-host. She's also here, and she spent quite a bit of time researching your material for the program. Justice, if you have some questions for Mr. Edgerton, your line should be open. Please feel free.
Hello, Mr. Edgerton. How is your work constructive in working against racism, white supremacy?
White supremacy? Well, let me put it like this, dear. The war between the states is a reference point to all of the good things, bad things that will happen to folks who look like me. It is the reference point to, you want to talk about racism and prejudice. These folks who established the public school system here in the Southland of America in 1865 and sent their northern school teachers here to dumb down our babies here in the Southland of America, even in lieu of the economic institution of slavery. Prior to that war, there was a love that existed between these folks that we only call master, but we also call him family and friend. And in that 12-year period of so-called reconstruction in the Southland of America, those folks from the North did everything they could do to divide and separate black folks and white folks here in the Southland of America. And certainly when they began to destroy our history and who we are and the place of honor and dignity that folks who look like me earned beside that man here in the Southland of America, certainly, if you want to talk about the NAACP, an organization that was supposed to fight for the human and civil rights of all of God's children, no matter what color they are, they use this organization to enrich their coffers and to demonize a Christian symbol, a symbol that is a symbol of Southern people. And it is unfortunate, people talk about bringing folks together in diversity. Here in the Southland of America, even the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King knew that his dream one day that the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners would sit down at the table of brotherhood. He knew that if you attacked the Southern Cross, that wouldn't happen. Far too many people lost their lives under this Christian symbol. And what these folks have done is they've demonized our symbol. They've pitted us against each other. Our history is just not even close to being correct. You can't blame the economic institution of slavery on the Christian white folks in the Southland of America, which is what these folks use as their weapon of choice against us, knowing full well that the whole world was complicit in the slave trade. If you don't get this thing right, then the only thing you always have is you have people going against each other. Quite frankly, the biggest race problem that we have in America is not in the Southland of America. It comes from the North. And these folks come into our homeland, and they always try to do whatever they can do to create animosity between us, while they continue an agenda of Southern social cultural genocide. Here in the Southland of America, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Master Jesus Christ, is under attack. There's sodomy in every southern town and hamlet in here. No more Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And everything that's about us here in the Bible Belt, here in the Southland of America, is now under attack. And these folks continue to want to use black folks against white folks in the South to legitimize for all the kinds of things that's taking place. Bottom line is this here: we need to get this thing straight. The war between the states has not ended. It still is in full Cold War status, and we go around the country trying to solve the problems between the Jews and the Palestinians and the Shiites and the Sunnis, when we have a problem right now here in the Southland of America, and it's not a black-white issue. It is still a regional issue. All the kinds of things that happen around here, you can't change the race problems until you look at the other side of the table and not just tell the northern side, which is a side of virtuosity and a side of lies.
What do you mean when you say black and white folks?
Simple. I'm talking about those folks who look like me, who are of the Negroid race, and white folks who are Caucasians. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Edgerton, when you talk to your audience, is there mostly non-white people or is there mostly white people?
It's a mixture of all, dear. You know, I can be in a room where there's all white people. I can be in a room where there's a mixture of white, red, white, black, yellow folks. It makes, you know, I really don't think a whole lot about what the kind of colors I'm looking at. I just bring what the truth is.
When you talk to your audience, what constructive information comes out of your mouth?
Well, I hope I said something constructive to you already, my love. You see, here's the thing for me is this. You cannot continue to blame the economic institution on the Christian white folks in Southland of America, which is what is the main focus of animosity that these folks lay down. It is the main animosity, the NAACP right now in South Carolina fighting against a succession ball. I would suggest that they all get tickets and go to that succession ball and close their mouths and open up their ears. They may learn something about what took place around here in our country. If you don't know history, it's hard for you to not make the same kinds of mistakes that you made in the past. Here in our country, we have a situation talking about the North and South, where folks glamorize Abraham Lincoln, who basically was probably the biggest bigot of his time and certainly a war criminal for the kinds of things that he did. You have to get that right. You can't continue to demonize a flag and a whole region of people, Southern white folks, when Abraham Lincoln campaigned on the Corn Amendment. An amendment basically that he tried to present to the Southland of America. If they would agree to the tax increases proposed by the South, that Congress would never have the ability to write an amendment to end the economic institution of slavery. Yet still you tout this man in front of black folks as though he's some kind of hero and that he came here in the Southland of America to save us from these evil white folks who set up and ran the economic institution of slavery and all its ills, when, again, as I said before, the whole world was complicit in the economic institution of slavery. Unless you get the story right, all you do is just pander out ill feelings and ill wills against a people. So, quite frankly, the only man in America who ever really cared about that African are the Christian white folks in the Southland of America. And there's a different story that needs to be told. And that's not to say that there's a hate between white folks in the South and black folks in the South against northern folks. It's not what to say. The thing is that there's a vindication that is due, not even to mention all the stealing that took place around here that some of these folks need to drag back. For black folks in America keep wondering how come they continue to be at the bottom end of the totem pole in America when they help build not only America, but they help build the whole entire civilized world, who was complicit in the economic institution of slavery, by the way. But only all the ills keep getting crap laid right off on Southern white folks. Biggest lie ever told. These folks, even how the war itself even began, Abraham Lincoln tricked the Northland of America into it. And most of those folks believe that the South had a right to secede and go its own way. The destruction, history is a circle. You look around now and you look at the Tea Party in America. The Tea Party in America, if you close your eyes, will be saying the very same thing that Southern folk talked about then. Our government too big, taxes too high, unequal balance in Congress, the stealing that goes on with our politicians. It's all the same thing. It's nothing any different. Man's and humanity, man, is still the same. The attack on religion was a key issue during the war between the states. But people don't even talk about that thing. It's always slavery end of the whole conversation. So it's important for us to get this right. And I hope I'm not going off on a tangent. I'm just trying to answer your question, young lady.
Okay, I just wanted to say that please do just call me Justice, not other names, just Justice, please.
Well, you didn't tell me your name, and I'm so sorry. So, where are you from?
It's a she.
You went where?
It's a she. I'm a she.
Where are you from?
Why are you asking?
You have a lot of questions that you're asking of me, but you seem to elude all the questions I asked of you, which lead me to believe that you're not from the South. I'm just the question. You're afraid to answer my question, but yet still you want me to answer your questions? I find that a little bit rude.
I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Groovy. The cows. I completely agree. I'm no fan of Abraham Lincoln. Forced into Glory, excellent book, LaRon Bennett. In my perspective, he was most likely a racist white supremacist, but Forced into Glory, LaRon Bennett. I have been remiss. I want to make sure I go back and rewind for our listeners. Mr. Edgerton is a black male. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay, right on. So yeah, just make sure you get that again. He is does a lot of work for what he references as the Christian cross of St. Andrews, the Confederate flag, but that's the way he references it, Christian cross of St. Andrews. And he also, again, a member, president, not just a member, president of the Southern Heritage 411 and member of the Sons of the Confederate Veterans, our guest, Mr. H.K. Edgerton. I guess I want to make sure I get that clear for this because I think it'll be very important so I can get a better understanding of some of your views. I have concluded, unfortunately, that we are in a global system of racism, white supremacy. I use those two terms interchangeably, and I have the same definition for both terms. That definition is as follows: a global system of people who classify themselves as white and are dedicated to abusing and or subjugating everyone in the known universe whom they classify as not white. Do you believe that such a system exists, and do you think that is an accurate definition?
You know, I have walked, and I'm not laughing. I'm just, I'm not laughing at what you said. I'm just kind of amused because I have walked for militants. I am also the co-founder of the Black Student Center at the University of Minnesota, and I was a student regent there. Not only do I just give speeches, but I've been known to get out among the people and walk carrying my flag. And I'm not trying to deviate from what you were questioning about white supremacy, so don't let me get off that. But I've had the opportunity to be out in the street to carry my flag, not only to the gates of the White House, but from Asheville, North Carolina, to Austin, Texas, from Asheville to Charleston, where I was a participant in the Hunley burial for the Confederates, those men who lost their lives in the Confederate submarine. And I'm saying this. I have carried my flag all across America, even in the South, even into the North, even into Gettysburg. And I've talked to a lot of folks along the way, both black and white. And let me say this. I have found not only a great deal of love, but a great deal of conversation, and in that conversation, I have found more and more black folks who've said to me, HK, it's time for us to go home. So I'm wondering, well, what do you mean it's time for us to go home? Most of the ones that I ran into who basically were of Southern ancestry said that flag does not bother us. Our families fought and died under that flag. That flag was a part of who we are. And it was not until recently that folks began to attack the flag. But we believe the time has come.
Mr. Edgerton?
Huh? Yes.
I just wanted to, I didn't want to get you to get off the hook because, this is real important, like this definition, and if you think this system of white supremacy exists. So I wanted to make sure I got an answer to that. Did you want me to repeat the definition, or do you remember it?
I remember your definition, and what I'm trying to say about this definition, what you're saying about white supremacy and who folks care about. What I've heard. It's not so much about supremacy. It's about. Is it time for us to go home? Is it time for us to leave America? Is it time for us to say thank you? Even if we went home, we still have to face the same kind of thugs and thieves who brought us here to this foreign alien land. you know, we don't even like each other. So, and I find that more prevalent today. I was born in Jim Crow. Than during the time, the closer we were to the economic institution of slavery, the more we seemed to care about ourselves. And the further we got away from that, we began to emulate everybody around us. You know, I don't even know how you define. I heard your definition of white supremacy, but I don't even know what I mean, what does it mean? What does it mean in terms of what do we do to achieve social vertical mobility for ourselves on God's planet? You know, I mean, what do we do? I mean,
okay. Let me answer that question. Let me answer that question. I do want to make sure that I note I still haven't got an answer to that question, which is pivotal. And I mean, that's pivotal for a lot of reasons. You know, even what he said in light of not answering. Okay. But I will answer your question, and then I'll kind of respond about the system. You said, how do we better ourselves on the planet? In my view, step number one in solving our problems, this being black people, would be to understand white people dominate every area of our lives. White people are in complete control on this planet. There's no way you can run. You said they asked you about going back home. I don't really know what that means, but I think it would be critical. It would be incredibly important for each and every black person anywhere on the planet to understand there is no place you can go to get away from white people. Anywhere you go, they will be in charge, and they will be able to come get you if they really want you bad enough. That would be step one. I don't think enough of us understand that and are honest about that. And you said yourself you couldn't even answer the question, so you would be.
Huh?
I just want to make sure I make that clear. You said you could. I want to make sure I make that clear, and then yes, you can respond. You said that you couldn't. Wait a minute. Just let me. Let me finish this real quick. Let me finish this real. Just let me get this statement out. Okay, thank you. What I wanted to say is that you are evidence of what I'm saying, because you said you couldn't even answer the question about the definition. So you're evidencing what I'm saying is a lot of confusion about the fact that white people run this planet. That's all. Go ahead, sir.
But having said that, what does that mean? Does that mean, you know, that's why I'm against prisons and stuff like that, because have we not come far enough that on God's earth there's enough for everybody? And, you know, I mean, are you painting a picture of hopelessness? Are you saying that, you know, I mean, I want to feel like that there is hope for all of God's children on this planet, no matter who runs it. It's just unfortunate that man's inhumanity to man is, you know,
white people's inhumanity. White people's.
Huh?
White people's inhumanity. That's the problem. The problem is white people. Like our failure to be honest about that.
See, now you're giving a virtuosity to a lot of other folks who have not displayed that virtuosity that you're talking about, because you see.
Wait a minute. Let me.
I don't know how you take me away from. What about King Galelli, a man who raised the villages of black folks who brought us to the shores, out of the shores of West Africa, and sent us all over the world, Russia, Spain, Great Britain, Brazil. I mean, how do you give a virtuosity to this man who was called himself the King of Kings of Africans? I mean, you know, I can't. My mom used to always tell me I can't call the kettle black. So who are you assigning a virtuosity to as man that you can say that the white man is the most evil entity on this earth? I don't understand that.
I will respond. Number one, I don't recall saying that anyone was virtuous. I want to be very clear about that. What I said is the problem is white people. No one tops white people in mistreating, harming, oppressing non-white people worldwide. They got that championship, and they've been holding it for a long time. And I mean, if you want to, you talk about history. I mean, the record would clearly evidence that, and you could spin the globe anywhere in the world, that would be true. White people inflict major harm on non-white people anywhere they go. Now, either that's true or it's not true. And I'm saying it's true, and that we need to be very honest. Do you think that what I've just said is inaccurate?
I think what you said is you need to put some complicity to it, because I mean, how do you exclude what black people have done to other people in the world, to themselves? Can't exclude that.
Lots of non-white people and black people.
You got a barometer over here.
What I said, sir.
I don't understand it. And not only that.
What I said is that no one is virtuous. I'm not saying that people are virtuous. I'm not saying that black people have not harmed other black people, because they have. The record books are overflowing. A lot of black people mistreating other people. You're absolutely correct. But what I'm saying is that white people are in charge. No black person, no group of black people can threaten violence against white people and have that be like a serious thing on this planet. That doesn't happen. White people, you talk about the Klan.
All of this. Just please help me. What is your resolve to all of this? What is your resolve that we don't be on this earth, having made the statements that you made, and give up on social vertical mobility? What is the resolve here? When you tell me, how do we step toward resolution?
Well, I think, number one, we stop having sex with white people. That's number one. We realize that white people are our enemy worldwide, and that we have to do certain things to counter what our opposition, white people, things that they're doing. One of the big things we could do is to not have sex with white people at anywhere, at any time. That means totally no sex, no sex, no sex, and speak about that publicly as something that we are totally against. That's number one, and that would be a big, big help. And I have a lot of evidence that white people would be upset about that. That would be one thing we could do. Second thing we could do is to try to inform. I'm sorry? If you remember the Ku Klux Klan, you would find yourself in total agreement with some other folks, other white folks who agree with what you're saying, and then you become a radical. But go ahead, I'm listening. Okay. Is that something you're agreeable? Because I've been doing videos where, you're pretty close to a white female, hugged on her.
I'm learning now.
Is that something you would be willing to say? I'm not going to have sex with a white female. I'm not going to promote having sex with white people at all for any reason. Is that something you would be willing to consider?
That's something, that's something that I would be willing to consider, yes.
Oh, okay. Great. That's wonderful. That's a lot more than I get from other folks. I tell you, I want this to be us talking, so I've shared an idea. I will share more as we go. How about that? That way we'll both be interested in what we have to say. I have other suggestions for things non-white people can do.
We came a long way from the Confederate flag to this point here, but let's go.
We got a long way to go. In fact, we got so far to go that I really don't care how far we've come at this point. Like, I would be perfectly happy if, no one around me ever said that phrase again. I have no interest in how far we have come, period. I would love if you could share with our listeners. There's so many things. I mean, gee whiz. Could you talk about how one of the things you say black people don't understand, there's a long history of black people who served the Confederacy, who served the white people who were fighting, who owned a lot of slaves and who were fighting in the Civil War. Could you talk about the black people who protected?
Whoa.
There we go.
I was with you until you made the last statement. The majority of those poor white folks who were soldiers fighting in the war didn't own a lot of slaves. They couldn't afford a lot of slaves. So that's a misnomer.
Correct. But I didn't say that everybody who fought. Wait a minute. If we're gonna be correct about words, let's do that, because I didn't say everybody who fought in the Civil War had slaves. I didn't say that. I just said the side that had the slaves, which is an accurate statement. Doesn't matter if it's only 5 people, but the side that had the slaves. You said there are a lot of black people who did protect their land, who protected the plantation.
The slaves. Your president, Ulysses Grant.
I agree with that too. I agree with that too.
Going to free the slaves that you had, and he said good help was hard to find. So all those folks who brought the slaves into the country were northern folks. The Northland of America was built on the back of slaves. So, I mean, even though the South was an agrarian region, yes, it had the majority of the slaves were in the South, but that doesn't mean that these folk weren't complicit in not only bringing them there, but also profiting from their presence. And that American Constitution had made it legal to do so. With Mr. Antonio Johnson, a black man right out of the Commonwealth of Virginia, who owned the first legalized slave in America. So when we start talking about slavery, we got to paint the picture like it really was. But go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No worries. What I wanted to get to was you talked about the black people who worked for, took pride in serving the Confederacy, and they protected the plantation. Can you talk about that specifically, these black people who protected the plantation?
Absolutely. The men were away. William Testament Sherman and his men came here and committed total warfare on the Southern people. By the time that war broke out, the Southland of America was our home, whether you were indentured or free, red, yellow, black, or white. Much like what's happening now. When these young men go off to war, you think they love war. They're going because that part of that region of their country called them to go and to serve. By the time all this stuff, the relationships would develop between black folks and white folks, and I'm not here to defend the economic institution of slavery. The whole world was complicit in the slave trade. The Southland of America had become home to us. And certainly there were relationships that had developed between master and servant. And many of those relationships that were developed were quite frankly not the way these Harriet Beecher Stowe with Uncle Tom's Cabin described it to me. So when the Yankees came here, those Africans were fighting for their home, their homeland. Some in promise of freedom for the service that they gave, and some doing it because it was their duty to do that. There was nothing happening on the north side of the Mason-Dixon that brings about this play of so much loyalty to the Stars and Stripes and those folks. The Stars and Stripes, if you want to be sane with sanity, the Stars and Stripes brought the Africans into this country. Those Africans never saw the Southern Cross flying over one slave ship that docked, not one. These folks come and they tell this tale. I mean, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to, as an African people, sit down and just hate everything around us? No, because what these folks did is that now they try to inculcate in our thinking processes that we should turn the hate for all the kinds of things that happen to us entering into this country illegally against Southern white folks. That tale is wrong. That's the bottom line. We're the only people who came in
context
against their will, forced in here. Now, where do our loyalties lie? It's the bottom line. Where do your loyalties lie? My loyalties lie in the Southland of America because it is my home. And I know that man from the North didn't come here to save me. He profited on my back, and everything that he's done from that point, from the time that the Honorable R.L. Dabney from Prince Edward County, Virginia, sent a letter over to General Howard telling him, now you folks have written all these things about how terrible white folks in the South have been to black folks. Now you have all the money. You have all the resources. Do right by him. Don't do the things that you're doing now. with your vagrancy laws, all you have to do is be a black man standing on the corner. Come here, boy. What you doing around here? You got a job? Don't have a job? Okay, now you work for the company store. I'm paying you a penny a day. Costs $3 a day to live. Slavery all over again. All the kinds of things that this man did here to divide and separate black people and white people in the Southland of America. That white man couldn't vote, go to Constitution conventions, black man going over to free people with a brown paper bag, wouldn't know what a vote was, didn't even know what it was. Free to go where and do what. Left him right out there in the woods and still in the quicksand, because the white man in the North knows one thing. He knows about the loyalty. He knows about all the things that black man did to kill his brother. And he don't like him, and he don't like the white man in the South. Period. Now, where do our loyalties lie? Put your loyalties on someplace on the table. I don't blame a black man from the North want to hang his loyalty to the North and the Stars and Stripes. Hey, so be it. The black Yankee is just like a white Yankee to me.
Context of white supremacy. Justice, if you have some questions you would like to ask, please go right ahead. Frantz Kebreau. I've been thinking of Frantz Kebreau often during this broadcast. You said Tea Party, so Frantz Kebreau and Oreo Experience. Yeah. Justice, your line is open. If you have some questions, please feel free to dial in or ask your question.
What's so important about flags?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
It is a symbol. It is a symbol either for a soldier. It is a symbol for people. And a symbol represents their mores, their values, their culture, how they approach God, the region of country where they're from. That's the importance. If you're talking about a flag that's in battle, it's the colors of the soldiers who represent that region or represent that country. That's the importance of it.
Mr. Edgerton, why do you hold?
Are you the same young lady that was talking? Are you the same young lady that was talking to me before?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Answer your question.
Why do you hold a flag in your videos?
Why do I hold a flag in my videos? I always hold my flag. I always hold my flag. I'm holding it right now. I like my flag. It's a part of what I do.
In the video, H.K. Edgerton. Which video are you referenced to? There are so many videos out there. There are videos that were documented by my brother, and those videos that other folks sneak up on me, and next thing I know, I'm on YouTube and all. I don't know which one you're talking about. So is there one specific that you referring me to? In the video, H.K. Edgerton on Confederate flag in Columbia, SC, how is that video constructive in working against racism, white supremacy?
I don't know. See again, which one you're talking about. In South Carolina, I have no idea. I'll try to figure out what you're talking about. There were a lot of things that took place in Columbia, South Carolina. The flag was brought down off of the capital of South Carolina. There were politicians in South Carolina during the Democratic primary, which I was there. There were folks like Mitt Romney who said that he wouldn't fly that thing. There was Hillary Clinton there who said it was too Southern for the flag to be on the Confederate Soldiers Monument. There was John McCain there, a politician running for office, who said that he did not like his Confederate ancestors and that he would not associate with them. Certainly I was there to make a stand against those kinds of comments at one point in time. At another point in time, I was there supporting the flag remaining on the Capitol Dome. So I don't know which one you're referencing. How did it stop racism? Because, as I said before, this is the reference point. If you don't get this straight, You cannot continue to blame the economic institution of slavery off on my flag and off on the Southern people. You can't keep saying that the Southern people under this flag, which was a symbol of who they are, were trying to maintain the economic institution of slavery, and that they're guilty for slavery. So there's a lot of things that's going on here. A lot of these folks, politicians who come in, let me see if I can back this up a bit. One of the reasons why the attack came on the Southern flag had nothing to do because it was offensive to black people. Because way more black people served under the Confederate flag than they did under the Stars and the Stripes. You come here as a politician and you make these statements, and then you try to get, for some reason or another, for black people to bring their loyalties to you, to vote for you because you're using this symbol as though it's something that held black people down or something that it was trying to do that it wasn't trying to do. People stretch for power, so they do that. You people come into Southland of America because many politicians, many white men said they were tired of having their children go to colleges like Ole Miss and listening to that band playing Dixie. Dixie is a part of who we are in the Southland of America. You had many of those men who said that they were tired of sending their corporate workers down south looking at that rebel flag. What you have to understand is that there are a lot of folks who come from the north, and it's not black folks. We're victims in the middle, always being used against white folks in the Southland of America. We're tired of sending our corporate workers there looking at that flag because what these folks want to do is to come back to the South and take what they didn't take during Reconstruction. Southern social cultural genocide all over again. And the reference point is the war between the states. So we always start there. And we always say slavery. And then you get black folks holding their heads down and hating white people in the South. As I said before, the whole world was complicit in the economic institution of slavery. You got to get it right.
How are black and white folks still family? And what do you mean when you say family?
What do you mean when you say family? You define family. Family is people who care for each other, who look out for each other, who interact with each other, and who take care of each other. That's family.
Do you care for white people more than you care for yourself? If so, why?
Hey, man, do I care for white people more than I care for myself? I care for myself. I care for all of God's children, red, yellow, black, and white. Is that hard for somebody to understand?
I'm sorry?
Is that hard for you to understand?
No. I don't have any more questions at this time. Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Context of white supremacy. Confusion is lethal. Wow. Mr. Edgerton, do you know who Clayton Bigsby is? I'm just curious.
Who?
Clayton Bigsby. Clayton Bigsby. Do you know who that is?
I'm not sure. I meet so many people. No, I'm not sure. I can't recall that name.
It's a television character. I was just curious.
No,
wow, that's so interesting. The question. The Chappelle Show. Dave Chappelle. He's a black male.
Yes. Yes.
You seen the show?
With him? Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah, you can.
I just don't remember it. But I remember Dave Chappelle, but I don't remember just, his show completely, because it's not something I just watch.
I understood. I was curious when Justice, she just asked the question about if you care more for white people. And, Stockholm Syndrome, whoa, for people who listen to the program. You do seem very, very white identified. It comes out in a lot of different ways. I mean, you said you got your Confederate flag. You're very proud.
People can, here's the thing I have is a true problem. Folks run around and talk about Jesus Christ and the love for Jesus. Jesus was about love. Yet and still, they just won't date. The question, do you care more for white people? That's a set-up question. It's a piece of crap. Then you care for yourself. Please, give me a break on that deal. All I'm simply saying is this here. Southern white folks in the Southland of America, as it relates to this war, and the way these folks identify, is wrong. It's wrong. Now, you can't grant a virtuosity to northern white folks, Spanish white folks, Russian white folks, or any of these folks in any other different places, Brazilian white folks, or whatever you want to call them, as it relates to why I carry this flag, and which is basically what brought you to me in the first place, I believe. Even though we've turned in full circle into body politic, the point for me is this here: if you can't face what really happened in the truth, I'm not about here sitting around generating hate. That's what folks really want to cling to. They want me to hate something. Oh, do you care? Do you care more for my fighting for black folks and for social vertical mobility for black folks is as legendary as my fight over here with this flag. My fight with this flag is the same fight. It's no different. My civil rights fight in life has come full circle because this flag and what happened here in the Southland of America, what happened here in America during the war between the states is a reference point to a lot of things. It's a reference point to our condition here in America. And I will not buy into what northern white folks have written and said about what took place down here if they try to make me hate this man in the Southland of America, in my homeland, because what they write is twisted and is wrong and it is a lie. And if you don't get that right, then what you want me to do is to sit here and hate white folks, hate all white folks, hate all the white folks in the Southland of America because, oh boy, all they did was put us in slavery and rob us from our homeland, and the conditions that we feel on this earth is blame all that on these white folks over here, and you're letting a lot of people get away. Bottom line, and they don't deserve to get away. Next question. I hope you folks are still there. There's a big silence.
Can you hear me?
Is this the same young lady?
Yeah. Gus might have
What was your name? What was your name? What? I beg your pardon?
Oh, I said Gus might have got kicked off. I think he's trying to dial back in. So just give him a moment.
I did not quite understand what it was that you said. Could you please repeat that again so I can understand?
Gus is probably trying to dial back in now, so just give him a moment. I just want to just go back to this question here. How are black and white folks still family? You didn't answer that question. Can you please answer that?
Do you mean in the Southland of America, or are you talking about across the country, period?
Just,
my point of making that statement is that black folks and white folks in the Southland of America were family, and we still family. We still carry the names of those white folks who were part of our family. We still interact with those white folks who were part of our family. Our babies play with their babies. We still, we work with each other. Our relationships is quite different than the relationships of folks north of the Mason-Dixon line. And of all the things that folks have done to pit us against each other, they haven't succeeded fully. We are still family. We dress alike, we talk alike, we pray alike. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Now, this gentleman that has this radio program, is he still not with us?
I'm with you.
Yes. Okay, there
with us. Okay. Next question.
Gus, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I wanted to get back. Forgive I was disconnected. Major interference. I was not requesting that you or anyone who listens to this program hate white people, but at least for me, it seems very illogical to have a lot of pride. If I'm in a battle, if I have a clear opponent,
where do you sit, Gus? I mean, all I want to do is to understand. You know, I feel like I'm I love being in the frying pan with you. I just want to know, where do you sit in this whole scheme of things in this body politic? You know, you said we have to stop doing some things. Where do you sit? Where do you want me to sit with you in this spot? You know, I mean, what is it that you want from me? What do you want me to sit here in this thing? Help me to understand. When you fight, you know, here's the thing that's so ironic to me. When I was the president of NAACP, they analogized me to Hueyism. Said, "Boy, you're too militant. You hate white people." You know, my father was a Baptist minister. There was a lot of religious mapping going on in my life, and I'm trying to understand, you know, what makes me any better than the next man if I encompass in my heart this hate. How am I going to change something for the better if I make myself this black supremacist? I mean, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Help me with this thing, Gus. This is your program. Where is it that you're trying to get folks to go, to do, and to understand that we must do as people on God's earth? What are you trying to accomplish? You help me. And how am I going to look like the person that you want me to look like? You help me to see what it is that you want me to look like, and help me to know how it is that I'm going to get there, and what am I going to feel in my heart when I approach that point. For any of God's children,
Gus got disconnected again.
Really? So you answer the question there, young lady. Tell me your name again, because I don't want to call you young lady because it appears that offends you.
That question isn't from me. I don't want to answer it. Gus he's getting back on the line. So just give him a few seconds or some minutes.
There's a lot of things you just don't want to answer, isn't there?
I'm sorry?
I said there are a lot of things that you just don't want to answer, you know, but you have lots of questions of me.
Because that's why you're here. You're here to answer questions.
No, I'm here not only just to answer questions. I'm here to get answers to my questions also.
All righty. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. My apologies. I'm having like super interference. My apologies to listeners and to Mr. Edgerton, but I'll be corrected, and I'm all good. Was I interrupting a question, Justice, or was I interrupting someone?
No, the young lady did not want to. She said that the question that I had was a question for you, And I asked her to answer the question, too, until she said she wasn't going to answer it because she wanted you to answer the question.
Because
what's the question? Let's hear it.
The question was, what is it that you want me to be in the scheme of things? You define the people in a certain way, and I'm simply saying is, where is it that you want me to be? Where is it that you see me to be with my feelings towards white people or people in period? Where is it that you're trying to lead your listening audience to be? I mean, what is it you're looking for? If I were going to be
true,
if I were going to be what you thought I should be, what would that be?
I'm just trying to lead people to being logical, accurate, honest, mature about things. That's how you go about the business of solving problems. You get accurate information, and then you make decisions based on that information. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell my listeners what to do. I'm just here to offer information. And what I would say with this program, this is what racism, white supremacy does. It conditions black people, victims of white supremacy, to identify with white people. I think repeatedly I have felt like, Mr. Edgerton, you have defended white people. When I have said, white people are most to blame, white people are most inhumane, you have consistently pointed out how black people have done bad things, and consistently shifting to black people, non-white people, everybody participated in slavery. Just consistently doing things.
Man,
see, you're doing it again. See, right on cue.
All religious colors, all racial boundaries. And what I'm simply saying is that you are assigning all this inhumanity and all these things to just white people, and I'm simply saying that it's a man thing. I hear all kinds of theories. I hear that the African was the original man and the only man, and that folks went out into different parts of God's world, and their pigmentation was changed because of the environment. I've heard so much stuff since I've been on God's earth, and it all gets back down to one thing here for me, and that's why I asked the question. I mean, what is going to make me any different than the man that you pointing at? That makes me believe that what am I going to be when I get through with all this thing that you're telling me? Am I going to do something that's going to be different from what this man has done that you assign this blame to? Am I any different? So I just want to be helped. Just help me, because as a Christian, you learn that you're in a pond, and it's everybody's pond scum in the same pond. I just can't see the virtuosity. It started out with my flag in the region of the country which I come from, which is the Southland of America. I came out basically to defend only one thing, that this assignment of a virtuosity that you place on the North is not there. And the things that you've done to the white folks in the Southland of America is not necessarily the whole truth. It is a distortion. Bottom line. You cannot leave the complicity that Africans had in this whole scheme of thing that brought my ancestors into this country. You can't erase that. And I don't know how you put a barometer up and average out one man's inhumanity against another man's humanity and come out where you made a statement that white folks control the whole world.
Either that's true or it's not.
I want to find out if you got solutions to the things that you said, you put on the table. How is it that am I supposed to act? What is it that you want of me? You can't just you brought me on this program to just have a conversation. And I'm the one that's supposed to give all the answers. I can only tell you what I feel and why I've done what I do.
Well, I've told you, and I'll say again, no sex with white people. That would be one thing. Being suspicious of white people. Like, I don't know. The system works very well. And I guess I would point out that I think you've said that I made some comments about the North being virtuous, and I don't think I said that on this program. I don't think the northern white people are really, really bad, and I don't think, southern white people are really good, or vice versa. Like, it's white people. I don't care where they are on the planet, or if they, happen to be somewhere off the planet. If they're white, as long as the system exists, I think you should be suspicious. Those white people do a lot of damage. But we have a lot of people that called in. I wanted to see maybe they have some solutions or suggestions for what we can do. Maybe they're in agreement with you. Maybe they think we should follow Mr. H.K. Edgerton and get us a Christian cross of St. Andrews and support the Confederacy. A person who called in from block number with a
change. Yes, sir. You put a lot of smoke into the cards if you did. I got a flag for a lot of your books. I might not have one for every one of them, but boy, what a wonderful suggestion that was. I didn't exactly say that, but thank you, sir.
Context of white supremacy, confusion is lethal. A person who called in from a block number with a hand up, did you have a question for Mr. Edgerton?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Thanks for taking my call, Gus. Yeah, I got a question for your guest. Yes, the question is, you said you're from the South, and you are defending a flag in the South. Prior to your history in the South, where was your family from? Like, what part of Africa? You said the west part of Africa, the western part of Africa, and you said the whole world.
Down by the Gold Coast, Ivory Coast of Africa.
Okay. You said the whole globe participated in slavery, right?
I said the whole of the civilized world was complicit in the economic institution of slavery. Great Britain,
cool.
Spain, Russia, France, Brazil.
Do you know what part of Africa that you're from?
All white people.
Somewhere in the regions of West Africa. No, not exactly. That's where my grandmama Hetty came from. Did you know where you're from?
Well, I don't want to be argumentative with you. The reason
I'm just saying, do you know what part of Africa that you were from? We could be cousins.
Well, I'm trying to make a point. The point is that since you know your heritage in the United States, and you're on the phone, you're defending your flag, shouldn't you also be defending Africa as well, since you're so defensive?
What is it that you want me to defend? What is it that you want me to defend of Africa? Am I supposed to defend those African kings who went into the villages of Africa and took thousands of Africans and sent them everywhere? Am I supposed to defend them?
No.
I don't understand.
What I'm saying is you're defending the flag of the South, but when your ancestors that were in the South, they were property. They wasn't treated as human beings. So the logic that I'm using listening to you is, why are you defending something that treated you less than a human being? There's no logic to what you're saying.
Who treated me on the equal of a human being? Was it the African king who treated me, who knew that I was being placed into slavery? Was he treating me as a human being? Was he treating those women who couldn't make it to the shores of where they had those slave camps set up on the shores in West Africa and tied them to a tree and left them for the animals to eat? I mean, who am I supposed to look to?
Man,
where am I loyalty?
Thank you. That is incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to recap what I heard in that last 2 minutes. That is incredible. That should be on the greatest hits for the cows. This is something you'll observe, I suspect, if you talk to victims about racism. The caller continued to point to white people doing incorrect things, practicing racism. Mr. Edgerton continued to point out black people harming other black people. That is like standard, the shift to blaming other black people, right? And then he ended, where am my loyalty supposed to be? I mean, it's just impossible that I could not be united and loyal to this good white man. If not all of them, at least the southern white man. It's got to be. I mean, that is incredible. That's what white supremacy does. That is exactly what racism does.
No, you can't put words into my mouth. I simply call it out just like it is. This man is asking me about my loyalties, where do my loyalties lie? And you keep pointing to my African friends as though they've done something that I'm supposed to share my loyalties with the man who forced me into the institution in the first place. I defend the right of my people. My black family has a right to social vertical mobility on God's earth. Bottom line, and I will give my last breath to those ends. But I'm not going to sit here and start trying to place blame. Put the blame where all of it lies. King Galilei had no business in the village raiding my grandmama's village and dragging her family out to the shores to be taken into slavery anywhere. But he did it. And he did it for trinkets.
Called him out by
Am I supposed to be in love with King Galilei? I would like to dig him up and put him at the world court and try him for his crimes.
No white people tried. Person who called in, last four digits, 2736. Your line is open. 2736. Did you have
I really have. I've had enough. I don't think there's anything I'm doing here that's of any value. I love you for having me on your program. I really do. I hope I've tried to answer your questions, but I'm about ready to go.
All right. Did you want to get that last caller because they did have a hand up? You want to? Oh, okay. Well, thank you then. We appreciate it, Mr. H.K. Edgerton, president of the Southern Heritage 411 organization. Thank you for spending some of your evening with us, sir.
Thank you for having me, sir.
For sure. Context of white supremacy. Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Gosh, I don't even know what to say. Justice, do you have any comments for or what you heard from the guest?
No, but in one of his videos, I forgot what it's called, but when I was watching one, he said black and white folks are family, and I was stunned, and I was like, wow, family, and how are blacks, so-called blacks, or so-called non-whites, friends, families, brothers, when they are the ones doing the dominating and the mistreating?
Excellent question. I hope people caught that. The gentleman who called in asked him about, his loyalties to black people in Africa, and he can say, hey, those black people mistreated us. He called out black people by name, like they mistreated us. And, well, wait a minute, the white people did too. Well, everybody did. Stop focusing on white people. Where are my loyalties supposed to be? Incredible question. He asked it rhetorically, I think, but incredible question. To me, just, there's how in the world could I possibly not be loyal to white people? How in the world could you think I would have some loyalty to black? Are you crazy? That's just what it came across to me. Just the context, everything, that 2 minutes, incredible. And I don't even really feel bad. I feel like, I didn't get an attitude. I feel like I was okay. I probably could have been a little better behaved, but I was just going to the phone lines, I will hit the people who called in. I'm going to play Mr. Williams' commercial because I meant to play it last program and I failed. So I'm going to play it now, and then I will open the phone lines, and you can share your thoughts about Mr. Edgerton. We'll be right back.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? CounterRacism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Context of white supremacy. Before I hit the phone lines, I did want to say I do make an effort to be conscious of the way I talk to other non-white people on the program, to try to model a healthy way that you can communicate, and not have a lot of conflict. Don't name call. This, I would say, even though to make this conversation go, we talked, he was on for like an hour, 20 minutes. That, I think, requires a lot of skill. At the end of the day, you got to think, how much foolishness do you want to tolerate? I suspect Mr. Edgerton is very confused, like myself, about racism, white supremacy. It just comes down to how much confusion how much confusion you have the patience to deal with in the conversation. Just, set your own limits. And try not to provoke the person. Like with this dialogue, I was not trying to be as patient and allowing for just him to say anything, because I felt like he was kind of going off topic. And victims will do that. They will make false accusations, like he said, that I was assigning some sort of virtuosity to Northerners. And I don't think Gus has done that in the history of this broadcast ever. You just have to kind of expect that to happen when you talk to other black people, other victims, and don't even respond to it. Don't even get caught up trying to respond to every accusation, particularly if it's something you didn't do. Just, be patient, and that might mean, stop the conversation, kind of keep that gauge there. Keep that gauge in mind. Is this constructive? Is the person hearing what I have to say? But, that is important. I try to do that on the program, and, if you see conflict arising, maybe it's time to hit the pause button and pick it up later. At any rate, I will open the phone lines up for the people who called in. Unless, Justice, you had something else you wanted to share? Oh, I lost the line. Got you back. Sorry about that. All right, try again, Justice.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have anything else.
Oh, groovy. All righty. If you called in, your line is open. Everybody who dialed in, it's quite a few people, so maybe you can keep the background noise down. That would be great. I would be really appreciative. Okay. I think I got everybody that called in. Your line should be open.
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Oh, man, Gus. He hit right when I was about to ask him a question. I was going to ask him, you know how he said the civilized world, quote unquote, was complicit in setting up slavery and a system of white supremacy. I was going to ask him if it would be accurate to substitute white for civilized. And I just thought it was very telling that he equated white with civilization. Just, wow. And the other thing I was going to ask him is if he thought that Jesus Christ, if he was a Christian, was a white person.
I'm picking up background noise on somebody's line.
I think
Justice, go ahead.
I think the second question was a great question. The caller who just said something.
Oh, right before I was going to ask it.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. There's a lot of background noise.
I'm sorry.
Somebody, if you're in a noisy area.
I like you got kids in the background.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a noisy environment, like, I thought I got it. Dang, I thought I had picked out which line. All right, I'm going to mute all of the lines and open them one by one so I can pinpoint where the noise is coming from. If you're in a noisy environment, if you could mute your phone, that would be great, because it just disrupts the quality of the broadcast. We have a lot of, noise and banging going on in the background. So I'm going to open the lines up one by one, and that way I'll be able to figure out which line is the noisy one. Okay. The first person who called in from a block number, you seem to be okay. Excuse me. Okay, that's the line. 2736. You have a lot of background noise on your end. If you could, I don't know, be in a quieter area, that would be great. But I believe that's the line, 2736. If you could, get to a quieter spot, maybe that would be great. Yep, because I got everybody else's line open now. Oh, it's not. Dang, I was wrong.
You calling it?
Okay, yeah, it's a lot of noise. Like, if you called in and you're in a noisy spot, if you can mute your phone, that's just real distracting. Man, I thought I picked it out. Darn. Okay, this line, it seems to be clear. My apologies for the lots of interference. And this is just background noise. You all could help out a lot on this. If you call into the show, if you know you are going to talk, make sure you are in a quiet area. If you are not in a quiet area, mute your phone. Or if I open your line up and you're not going to talk, just let me know. Hey, I'm not going to talk. I just want to listen. That way I can mute that line and we won't have to worry about it. So thank you. Okay, so 7012, I'm trying a line. Seems to be quiet. Okay, 7012. This is a person from a blocked number. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to do it the white way. Just if you want to talk, press 1. So that'll work. That'll make it very easy. That way I can just leave the line. The people, if you're just listening, I don't even have to worry about it. If you are interested in talking, press 1, and I will just open those lines up. If you are not trying to talk, then I won't even worry with the lines. So everybody who pressed 1, your line is open. I'm not going to open the other lines up. Oh. Okay, so only 2 people have their line. Okay, I got everybody who has a hand up. Your line is open, and yeah, we should be good. If you change your mind at some point, decide you want to talk, press 1, and I should be able to get your line open. So everybody with a hand up, feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you can be heard.
Okay, I got it. Yes, I got everybody with a hand up.
Yeah, I was saying that. I was saying that.
The answer to the, not the answer, but yeah, the comment that I told the caller. I don't know if you said something after that.
You talking to me?
The first caller that...
Is he still...
Can I be heard?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I said he vacated the call right before I asked the Jesus Christ question.
Oh, okay. I would have really wanted the answer to that one.
I know.
Well, I noticed he had a habit of being hostile with Justice, and I really didn't like that. Whenever she asked a question, he got an attitude and then asked her the same question back. He asked for what Gus expects for him to do and went on with this. I mean, as soon as you got disconnected, he didn't wait for a beat. He jumped right in and started talking, which he said something about being in the frying pan. I think he actually enjoys being the center of the stage, but he started going on with this question when you got disconnected, Gus. And then when Justice said, he's disconnected right now, he'll be dialing back in, he wanted her to answer that question, which he asked, what do you expect of him? I don't know how he would expect an 11-year-old to answer a question for an adult. And she said, that's not my question to answer. So that's what happened when you got disconnected. But she clearly asked him, please only refer to me by my name, call me Justice. And he still kept calling her young lady and claimed that he forgot her name. So he really wasn't listening to anything at all, actually. That was my observation. He wasn't listening to anything in the entire interview. He was just here to defend white people, to defend the flag and the South, and that's it. And to let all you black people know how terrible and to blame you are and the rest of the whole non-white world.
I agree.
Agreed. In his confusion, I thought he said a couple of things that were startlingly accurate, though, like how Lincoln was a white supremacist, and a lot of white people don't get that.
But isn't it odd that he would say Lincoln was a white supremacist but not say that about the people in the South who thought that black people shouldn't have the right to vote or be free?
Yeah, just
about our so-called white brothers in the South?
That's what I was the question I was trying to get out of him, to actually expose what is his true agenda. So he really didn't care about people in Africa. The only thing he cared about was the flag. But that shows the power of white supremacy. I mean, this is an older gentleman down in the South, basically defending something that he really doesn't know anything about. So, I mean, that's a confused, non-white person. I mean, you can use that guy as an example of the system of racism, white supremacy, and the aftermath of the southern states. So that's how I took it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine.
I was saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I honestly think you would have got more direct answers to your questions if you had been interviewing Clayton Bigsby. I really do.
You're right.
Yeah, I think I want.
Hello?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Hey, did he ever answer Gus's definition of white supremacy? Because I don't think he even said he agreed that it exists or not. He just kept talking.
No, he said, what is your purpose with this? He didn't answer no.
Wow.
I believe he said he couldn't answer. He said he couldn't answer it.
He wasn't prepared for that question. That's what the problem. He got frustrated. That's what it sounds like to me.
I wondered if he interrupts white people as much when he's having conversations with them. Because hardly a question was asked that he didn't interrupt and start talking before the question could be asked. And then he said, I didn't understand the question, like he did that to Justice.
Yep.
Justice was cool, though. She just started right over as if he hadn't said anything.
Thanks. He could have answered it. He just didn't want to.
There was also this article that I think Gus from the FTLC where he was at some sort of Confederate flag rally, and he grabbed a white woman, took her up on stage. This was in Stone Mountain, Georgia, the head of the Klan. He took her up on stage and kissed her, and the SCLC in their, so-called intelligence report or whatever said that people were on the Sons of the Confederacy website talking about, this is what happens when you include Negroes. They think that they get special privileges like, kissing these good white women. I was going to ask him what he thought of that, but.
Sounds like they didn't like him kissing his sisters.
That article was wild. Yeah, I shared it with Justice as well. Good looking. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, there's so many different ways you get. Like, he has a video he's talking about, like, praising the black people who protected the plantation. Like, I mean, it's just all over. They have videos of him, like, grabbing these white women and hugging them. I mean, yeah.
Gus, did he ever say if he had a wife or if he was married or in a relationship or anything?
He didn't. That's what I should have asked him, if he'd had sex with a white person.
And I was wondering, is he married at his age and the way he speaks? I was thinking maybe he has a black wife, but I was trying to imagine what kind of black female would be able to tolerate that.
Yeah. Particularly grabbing white women on stage.
Do you think there are actually black females that have the same mindset he has? And would be like at rallies and things like that in the South that isn't married to a white male? Can anybody imagine that? Do you think it's a real possibility?
Yes.
After hearing the Oreo Experience, yes.
Oh, yeah, they probably would get along. Yes, because she said the poor white women didn't have anybody to help them comb their hair anymore, and they couldn't do it themselves. Yeah, I found it interesting that he couldn't identify one place in particular that his ancestors came from, but then he had a name of a king who he said himself came and raided the village and dragged them off. That was odd to me. That kind of didn't make logical sense to not be able to pick a particular place, but you can name the king by name who you say dragged your ancestors from where they were. And then he said that the flag is not what brought black people over here as slaves, but it was still ships that were owned, built, operated by white people. And like one of my great-grandparents who was not dragged out of a village by another African person, but was tricked into getting on a ship by a white person and then held hostage on that ship until he got here. He was sold either in the North or South, one of the Carolinas. He was sold twice. He ended up in the South, bought by people who probably proudly waved that flag. So what other African people had to do with him, I don't know, but there were a whole lot of white people complicit in his enslavement. And I also wanted to ask him, what were Africans in Africa going through that was so much more horrible than being raped, separated from your family, human rights denied, hung, killed, chased by dogs, beaten, denied the right to learn how to read? What were they going through that was so much worse than slavery over here that we should be so grateful for being brought here? That's what I want to ask him that.
I believe the article said that he thought that slavery was a education process. I believe that's what he said.
Educated in what, did he say?
Don't know.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm. We're listening.
What I hear is, and what he was saying was tragic and a classic case of the Negro preacher syndrome. And like most black folks, or people who are classified as black, we tend to be so Christian that we put religion and white Jesus before family, community, kind, and, so on. And so I think it's a classic case of a Negro gone wild with Jesus that really explains the schizophrenia in his comment and speech.
Agreed. That was the key. The key to his whole spiel was Jesus Christ. Kept bringing that up every time when Gus asked him a simple question. He referred right back to the religion, and there's probably a lot more black people in the South that will agree with him.
And on another Blog Talk radio show, a lady yesterday said, when she was asked, do you put your group and kind before you put your religion, or do you put Jesus and your religion before your own kind? She said Jesus and religion.
Mm-hmm.
We in trouble. And my only solution to that was that until the black women see the black men controlling and producing food, clothing, and shelter, and an education system that has no one in it but us, then she will be stuck in the church with Jesus. But if a black man can pull that off with those four things, she would be forced to respect to come and join that.
Well, I understand why. Well, I don't understand, but I can see the angle of the black female, because the black female is not protected. So she's going to do what's best for her children and her offspring. So when she's not protected, then this is what's supposed to happen. So, like Millie Fuller Jr. said, the reason to do research anything in history is to find out where the mistakes were made. And I think the mistakes could be on our shoulders. And I'm partly to blame as well. So that's why I'm listening to the show. So, yeah, I think the real issue is where the mistakes were made in history, and that's why I was asking him that he trace his own family roots, and he wanted to argue. So we all conditioned in some way.
Can I say that in 1971, when the welfare system was created, that's actually the source of where we're at now? Because even slavery and Jim Crow couldn't break our family structures. And we still had more right before 1971, because that left the fathers out of the home, and the boys and girls ran amok because they had no limits placed by a balanced relationship between a man and a woman. And from that, we got the crack, the gangs, the exploitation movies, hip-hop, and it's just been hitting us left and right. We were caught vulnerable because our women, out of desperation, made to believe they were desperate, went for the state aid programs. And so the black man was pushed out of the home by their policies.
Yeah. I personally know
Non-Mighty Wick, you should be on as well.
Thank you. I was just going to comment earlier, just when I think Ebony had mentioned the article, and he said it was an education experience. And I was going to say in education in servitude. And he was talking about something like that, and that would be the obvious reason, I would say.
I would say the black family was divided when black female seen her man being hung from trees and sold into slavery, hundreds of years prior to 1971, because that put in her head because I think it was a previous show, Gus had a guest on, that actually put into the black woman's head that her man didn't have any power. And any time, any place, the white man can come and dominate anything and everything in the household. So I think it was planted in the black woman's head hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years prior to, hip-hop or anything else that's going on nowadays, because it was a lot more violent then than it is now. I mean, it was gruesome. They tied, their arms on horses and whipped the horses in opposite directions and ripped their arms off. I mean, that will put an image in your head to say, hey, you have no protection. So I think it was planted in the heads of black women a long time ago, prior to, welfare or hip-hop.
That has some influence, and I agree, but I do think that the family structure was broken in around 71, because prior to that, we still kept family structure, and there was a low divorce rate in the black community, lower than the national rate.
But we were praising white Jesus.
I wanted to ask the caller who said, you said something about something was planted in the black woman's head thousands of years ago. What was happening thousands of years ago for black people that planted whatever, and what is this that you think was planted in her head?
I said maybe thousands of years ago, probably hundreds of years ago, that she has, her man, the black man, does not have any power in the system of racism, white supremacy. It was playing in her head.
I would say that probably would have happened at the point of slavery, not thousands of years ago, but I don't think a lot of black females during slavery necessarily thought that the white man was their friend. I mean, maybe under conditions of menticide, but if you start reading some of the slave narratives and books on culture among the slaves, they actually did form family units among themselves, so there was a sense of family. And to attest to that, you have the fact that after slavery was, I don't know whether you would say officially, unofficially, but once chattel slavery was supposedly outlawed, you have stories of people who were slaves going hundreds and thousands of miles looking for family members that were sold away. So there was no just like completely non-existent family structure. Even during slavery on plantations, they had their own social order. They had their own structure of honor. Even among slaves, the elders were to be respected. It wasn't as, I guess you could say, disjointed as you may think it was, because we do tend to have, or we had a tendency to stick together much more so than we do now when we were in extreme adversity.
I'm not just saying United States. See, I'm saying globally. When Egypt was invaded, I mean, I'm going back into when it started for black people globally, not just United States. And I'm not saying that I know Pacifics like you do, but I'm saying on a global scale, when did this go wrong? When did white supremacy actually put in place? It could have been thousands of years ago. I'm not saying that I know exactly dates or when it happened, but according to history, Africa was invaded. And when Africa was invaded and taken over, it was by force. And I'm saying that could have, and then after that, and when you talk about the United States, ever since the Holy Bible was implanted in the black family's structure, and you're praising a white Jesus that's actually beating and killing your family, I mean, that plants a seed. So I would have to
find out at what point the Bible, was planted in the minds or hands of black people, because during most of slavery we were not allowed to read, and black people as a whole in this country were not Christians during the whole time of slavery. They weren't even allowed to be for the most part. So I would advise looking that up and trying to find some dates on that, because it wasn't like they just brought us here, converted us to Christianity, and gave us Jesus. That definitely didn't happen right away. They even debated on whether or not we should be allowed to be Christians or read the Bible. They didn't want us to have access to that information.
Well, according to my family, talking with family members, older family members, the only thing that black people had where they can come together and unify was church. So that was the first thing I learned from just talking to family members on first-hand knowledge. A lot of family members from the South. So it's basically the church was our foundation.
Not church as it is now. There wasn't no Creflo Dollar.
No, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about in the past. We didn't have anything else.
In the past,
nowhere
they used the church for that social venue, and it wasn't as Jesus-based as we might think.
Well, that's where it all started.
They survived in the Carolinas with the Shaker Baptists and the other Gullah people who kept much of their own culture in it.
No, my point is this. That's why they allowed it. My point was that's why white supremacy allowed us to have churches. As long as we was preaching about their Jesus, it was fine. But when we didn't, they burned the churches down. That was my point. My point was they allowed us to do that for a constructive reason for white supremacy. That was my point.
But what we have to understand is some history on our enslavement over here, really beginning around the 1400s, the late 1400s, with the fall of the Moors. What we don't understand is that the first 200 years of slavery in the Americas was white slavery exclusively. And that at that time you had black and Indian tribes who had white slaves. You had Moors who were selling people off, white folks from the Slavic state, for about 500 years.
Which Americans are you referring to?
Which Americans?
Which Americas? North, Central, South? When you say the 200 years of slavery in the Americas?
Right, North, Central, and South. Because of the Portuguese and the Spanish being the first to be recorded as the colonizers. But they didn't get any ships until after the Moors were defeated and they took their ships.
Wait, I'm confused.
So they were the cargo. They were the slaves at first.
Who was the slave?
I'm confused
the Europeans.
too.
European Slavic people that they cleaned Europe out of and England was shipping over.
If I could hop in really quick, some of the other folks that called in, there's a lot of background noise today, so if you called in and you want to talk, you'll need to press 1, and I can open your line up. So any of the new people that called in, if you want to talk, press 1, and I will open up your line, and I can add you to the conversation. So give them a second. Okay, I don't see any hands. And Justice, would you like to give your email address?
Sure. justice.asap@yahoo.com. Again, justice.asap@yahoo.com. And do you want me to show my blog?
Please.
justdojusticetoday.blogspot.com. Again, justdojusticetoday.blogspot.com.
Thank you, ma'am. I wanted to make sure I reminded folks, since we're talking about religion quite a bit. He did mention that. He said the Confederate flag is the Christian cross of St. Andrews, so that religion thing does weigh pretty heavily in his confusion. December 25th, Jeremiah Kamara, he'll be on the program at 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific, and directly after that, Zeitgeist. That's what we'll be chatting about. 1 and 2. So, if you want to watch them both, so you'll be prepped. And if you called in and you want to talk, you got to press 1, and I can open your line up for the person that just called in if you are interested in joining the conversation. Press 1. Okay. Person, last 4 digits, 1917. 1917, your line is open. You there?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh. You can be quiet right now. Hello?
Did you? Thank you. Yes, we can hear you. If you, want to talk, just hop in.
Okay. Don't, if you put me on mute, can you just leave me on, but I just be quiet?
Yeah, we can do that.
Well, because I know didn't know how, after the time is, the switchboard crashes a lot, so, yeah. That's why I asked. But I'll be quiet.
For sure. That'll work. Has anybody been watching anything newsworthy? I feel like it's been a minute since I've been on. I guess Monday. Yeah, it's been like 4 days. Has anybody seen anything newsworthy, racism, white supremacy related?
They opened Chernobyl for tourism.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow.
Madoff killed himself.
No.
Are you
Not
serious?
Bernie, the son killed himself because they were getting hot and the government was coming after them next. You know, white folks can't take jail.
Wow.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. I think all the other folks are too.
Okay. And a couple of weeks ago, CNN announced that, according to the Spanish records, when they first came over and attacked the Aztecs, that they referred to the Aztecs as Moors.
So what I got a question about the Moors. What went wrong? And why the Moors are not in control, are not actually taking down white supremacy? Do you know that?
Well, because there are historic Moors, and then there are religious Moors. And they're not, yet one does not exclude the other, but the religious aspects did not apply to all of those who bore the name Moors, who were actually historic. And it's interesting that of all the things we learn in school about slavery, of all the things we're led to know, they never teach us about Moors. And because of that, we're missing our history. And that's a critical piece. In fact, it's the only piece that makes us make sense out of being African from West Africa. Without the Moorish history, the slave trade doesn't make any sense. And also, our
still
history
not really grasping.
It's in French, English, and Spanish, and it's divided into those three languages, and we only know English, so we only get a third.
I'm still not connecting the dots exactly as to how this relates to white supremacy, but I could be confused myself.
The black
hang on one second, please. The person who called in, last four digits, 2736. You have a hand up. Your line is open. Are you there? 2736.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Great. That was all I needed. Thank you. And we have 3 minutes left, so if you want to call, or if you, I guess if you're already on the line and you want to talk, you can just press 1. But if you're listening and you think you want to call in to listen or to talk, the number is 347-215-6071, and you have 3 minutes to dial in. Now I'm good.
Can I say something?
Go right ahead.
Well, the Moors who were ruling Southern Europe and all of Europe through the days of Algiers and the Moors in Spain, they got their blood mixed in with the nobility of Europe and all of the nobility. And they mixed in through the harems of white women that they were stealing off the coast of the Slavic islands and in places where they were growing them on farms like Holly Farms chicken. They were actually growing these slaves. And they would go and take them off and put these white women in the harem. And so much of the bloodline became mixed of the nobilities of Europe. And from that is the birth of white supremacy, is when the half-breed, fourth quadroon descendants of Moors and Europeans were on the throne and took over. The evidence is in Charlotte Sophia, who was the Queen of England in 1776. She is a Moor by way of Germany and by way of Portugal. The Portuguese were the first of the mixed children who became nobles. And so our slavery and white supremacy turned on us when we created the American kind of way of multiculturalism and multi-ethnicities and multi-religions existing in one place in Moorish Andalusia, Spain. And the Jews, who were mixed black people, and the Arabs and the Far Eastern Arabs the Turks turned on the Moors, and that's how we got caught into the slave trade. And when we were in West Africa, we caused, as Moors, this is all of our history, I'm not just a Moor, I'm all of it, but we caused, the Moors part caused a lot of dissension in West Africa and caused a lot of them to get sold. But it turned on them, and the Moors ended up getting sold. And we had... We had cities in the Americas, North, South, and the islands before slavery and before the white folks were brought over here.
Okay. This could just be me, and I could be confused. It could just be me, but I'm still not really seeing how this information is going to aid my understanding of racism, like white supremacy. Like, once I have that information will help me because... Can you finish that sentence in a succinct manner? Knowing that information, it will aid me because
if you understand history, then you understand the present. And there's a book called The History of White People by Nell Painter, who gives a very succinct growth of identity of whites to become white supremacy. It was 4 stages that she put them in. And if you understand the missing pieces of African history called Moorish history, and you understand the Black Native American history before slavery, then you begin to see how we lost our power and became black, and they became white, and it became white supremacy.
Okay. I've had. Hang on one second, everybody. Thank you. All the new people that called in, if you want to talk, press 1, and I can open your line up. You got to press 1 for anybody that just called in at the last minute, and I can open your line up. Nell Irvin Painter was a guest on this program in June of 2009. Her book, History of White People, you can check it out and make sure I'm on my job. Nell Irvin Painter. Yeah, I've heard that, and I would like to change the subject to see if any of the other people who called in, if you have comments or questions. Changing the subject, though. Changing the subject. If you called in, if you have a question or comment about something else, I would be interested to hear it. And the person who dialed in 6522, your line is open. Keep the background noise down, please.
Okay, can you hear me? Hey.
Yes, ma'am.
What does that cowbell sound mean?
We are refining as we go. I don't talk about... it's important. It's very important. You will get a lot more out of the programs if you know what that bell means. But I don't discuss the cowbell anymore. Yeah, I don't discuss the cowbell anymore. So you will have to find another means of getting that information. It is very important.
I can assume what it means, but I just wanted to get the real meaning by asking you.
Okay, what do you think it means?
Well, if somebody says something and clearly it's about
racism or some type of white supremacy or something like that, like that's when you tend to you hit the bell. It's something that we have to pay attention to what the person is saying. So that's the only thing I can get right now. So I don't know.
That's interesting.
Give me a hint at some things. I'm like, damn, why do you do that? Every time you do, I kind of like giggle a little bit.
Does anybody on the line, would you like to give her a hint about the cowbell, a program, or any hint about the cowbell?
I think it's, January 27th of
April.
Oh, it's April?
Okay, which show in April?
No, it's Kamal Bell.
What?
Kamal Bell, his show. That's where that's where it first started.
Oh. All right, well.
Kamal Bell was March 1st.
What?
Kamal Bell, the program with Kamal Bell, that was March 1st. I know someone said April, but yeah, March 1st, 2010. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I heard you make reference to an April program in the past, Gus, when people ask about the cowbell.
I can't remember a program.
Maybe you addressed what it meant on an April program.
That might be. We were still discussing it then. I would still answer it if somebody asked, but I think somewhere along the summer I stopped doing that. I had investors who were like, they didn't know what it meant, and I wouldn't. I'm not. I'm just. We're beyond that. It's there's a whole show. I won't tell you the month since nobody gave that hint, but there's a whole show in January where this is discussed in detail. I believe one of the callers is on right now. But yeah, in January, whole program breaks it down.
I'm like really curious to know.
Who was on that program?
Great. It might have been me and you.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I remember that, and I remember you saying that you was gonna ring it when that pops up because you suspect that it will pop up. So yeah.
And also the double whammy. Is that going to be explained too?
What do you think that means?
I don't know. Like it's kind of like it's kind of like when Dave Chappelle like message or whoever said that. I think it was in South Central, that movie, and they'd be like message. So I don't know, like like there's some type of message that we're trying to like convey. You hit the bell, like okay, this is a powerful statement, or that's very important, like something like that to that effect. I mean, I can only assume. That's why I want to know, but I guess I have to go and do all this research to show, and that's all right.
I usually hear Gus do the double whammy effect when it has something to do with being black and male, because in the system of white supremacy, that seems to be a double whammy.
Okay. And I think you did it on when some guy was talking about interracial intercourse, and then you hit that double whammy. He actually asked for it. He said, Gus. And then he repeated it. And you didn't even say like what or anything. It's kind of like you already knew. Because he was like, Gus, and then he said it again, and then you just did. And I was like, oh, snap, what does this mean?
Was that Mr. Nero asking for that sound effect?
I think so.
Mr. Nero, loyal listener, investor, if you're listening, much support. That's great. I was telling it might have been one of the female callers on now. I was telling her that there have been so many shows that now it's like people that listen to the program, it's almost like people who call in regularly are like characters. It's like a television show with a lot of characters, and they're almost like regulars now. It's Mr. Nero, regular.
Hello?
Did you have any? Yes.
Yeah, I was working like last week, and one of my clients, a young adult, I was driving around, and he said, "What's that cowbell mean? You always listen, and I always hear that cowbell. What does that mean? Because I always listen to the archives." But another good show, a couple of good shows with reference recently would be the Oreo show, the Oreo Experience from last week, and brother James X from brother James X, I think, from a couple of Saturdays ago. Yep.
Frantz Kebreau,
that's
big time cowbell.
I listen to those shows too. So.
Go back to the Frantz Kebreau show. You'll hear the cowbell ring a lot. Cheryl Judice, that show, cowbells.
Oh, I'm starting from the first show. I mean, I'm all the way on page 36.
Okay. Clear to
I work my way up.
That in no way do I see these marriages as being anything other than legal, loving unions, and in no way do I think any of these marriages represent anything tragic. We should all be so lucky to be in relationships with people that love us.
Oh, Gus, I did some research on Cheryl Judice, and she isn't married to a white man, but she is married to a black man who is referencing himself as a mutt.
Dang! Wow! Did he elaborate on that?
He is a product of a non-white person and a white person, and he referenced himself as a mutt.
And she is too, from what I read. She seems to take great pride in the white people in her family tree.
I think she even said that her husband, never been mistreated because he's not white.
Incredible.
Gus, you forgot to use the cow moo sound to get people to ask the guests, have they ever been engaged in sex with a white person? I thought we were supposed to hear a moo.
I have. I had that on my list of questions to ask, and I just blew it. I was snickering. I did a lot of laugh. I was muted a lot today. I was doing a lot of snickering during his responses. But yeah, I should have asked, and I should have hit the cow, so at least a listener could have got that.
I wasn't snickering. I was laughing out loud.
Yeah. Oh, I'm at work. I couldn't do that, but I was kind of snickering.
Yeah, I didn't feel quite as bad like when. Go ahead.
Oh, you were supposed to push the sound effects so one of the callers could know to call in and ask the question instead of you. That was supposed to be codified. That
is
would hear
true.
The cow moo, and
true.
then one of us would push one and ask the question.
That is true. I shouldn't even have needed that today. Like, I should have just asked. Like, that was a total fumble on my part. I should have just asked him directly. I have it on my list too. I watched those videos, and he's like hugging on this white woman, and the article.
Yeah, the real Southern Belle.
Yes, you saw it.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's just, he didn't really wig out about the no sex thing. Like, he took that, a lot better than most non-white people I speak with.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, I thought he was really, really confused. He would say that he referred himself as being knowledgeable about history, and then he even mentioned like divisional loyalties, and it's like, I mean, you have all these things as a result of basically white supremacy. That doesn't mean you're supposed to like white people or worship white people in a different way. I don't know. I'm in the South. I'm in Louisiana, and I I just don't understand. So.
Yeah, even listening to him talk about historical things, I was just utterly confused because it just seemed like a lot of times he was talking, but nothing was really connecting. As far as the information that he was saying, like I couldn't really put any of it together. It wasn't concise.
Logical fallacy.
I couldn't even get a logical fallacy out of it. A lot of it, I just didn't know what he was talking about.
I think just the whole thing where, you know, you're not supposed to trust white people from the North, and, you know, but yet he was trusting white people from the South. It just didn't compute. It was like, well, you know, we understand, you know, that the people from the North weren't heroes or anything. It didn't save us or anything like that. But, you know, just to turn around and love the people who directly enslaved you as the converse just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's interesting when I hear black people say that slaves were fighting for the South, too. From my understanding and reading, they were fighting for their own freedom.
Well,
a lot of them saw that as an opportunity to fight for their freedom.
Well, until I heard Neely Fuller Jr., I didn't really understand anything about racism. So, you know, and once someone is exposed to this information, I mean, if it doesn't change your outlook, then, I mean, maybe it's just too far gone. And I think he's just, you know, he's set in his ways. So that's what we got was old black men from the South who would fight for and die for a flag.
The one born during Jim Crow, no less.
Right.
And was the head of an NAACP chapter. I mean, not that that means anything, because that was ran by white people.
Right.
That was ostensibly fighting against racism. So, I mean.
Well, it makes sense to me that he could be the president over a chapter of the NAACP because it was started by white people to control black people anyway. Mm-hmm. And you can point out at least a few notable people in that organization who had a white parent and a black parent, and who at times have said or done things that seem to be in defense of white people or the system of white supremacy. So it makes perfect sense to me. I just couldn't figure out what people in the NAACP would think he was militant unless they were talking about some sort of Confederate militancy. Because I couldn't imagine him saying anything about taking up arms against white people.
Mr. Edgerton, he has a whole video talking about how white people bailed out the NAACP. They gave them a lot of money to keep everything running smoothly and told them what their agenda should be. He basically gives a nice 5-minute example as the former president of the local chapter as to white people being in control of the NAACP. Little jewels. I think one of the callers said that he has little jewels of, you know, accurate information about white supremacy amidst all the foolishness.
But he doesn't connect that those things were done for the purpose of controlling what black people in the NAACP did.
He gets mad at black people.
I'm sorry,
I think
what
he was more mad.
Gus, I couldn't understand your response.
Oh, I hushed. The other gentleman who was attempting to respond can go ahead.
No, you said that he was angry. I think you said mad at black people.
Okay.
No, I was basically saying that it seems like he is trying to defend the white people in the South, white supremacists in the South against the North, white supremacy from the North, and he is showing his loyalty by attacking. That's what it sounds like to me.
Wasn't there a guest on the show that said that's called earning their whiteness? It was a female professor.
The term does sound familiar, I suspect so. Yeah, it sounds very familiar, earning.
Yeah, I think she was in, maybe she was a Northwestern professor, Gus?
Dorothy Roberts, Eula Biss.
Is it Jackie something? Something?
Jacqueline Batalora?
I think so.
Batalora. Oh, yeah, she's from Chicago. She's not at Northwestern, but she is a Chicago. Good memory. Good memory. Give you a half point on that one. Half point. Oh, that show is back up, too. That female caller, she asked about that program because it wasn't available for download. And I pestered the white people at Blog Talk Radio, and it's working. I was able to download it, so it should be straight. So if anybody want to check out a program. The caller who asked about the cowbell, you should hear some cowbells in that program as well at significant times. So not to give you more research, but, you actually got a lot of hints. I think the callers were very helpful today, so you should have hopefully a much better understanding of the cowbell, maybe.
Hey, Gus, I got a question. What date you requested something to download that you can Blog Talk just upload it? What date is that?
The Jacqueline Batalora program is the beginning of May 2010, like around May 4th. It might not be May 4th, but it's the early portion of May 2010. And I guess, again, iTunes, if you got iTunes, just click the iTunes symbol on the show page, and it will open up your iTunes account, and you'll be able to see all of the archives from your iTunes program. That works really well. The description for the program will be there, so you can read and see what it's about, and then you can just go through and click which ones you want to download. Make sure you do that. White people could snatch the shows at any time and they'll be gone. So I highly encourage downloading.
Other than your show and Creed's, which I guess she's on hiatus, are you aware of any other counter-racist shows on Blog Talk Radio?
Reckless 2.0. I think we have a representative here, do we not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We are attempting.
Yeah, we are attempting. We just started up about a month and a half, 2 months ago. We pretty much focus exclusively on white supremacy. I think we talked about the media assault on black males twice. We talked about sports and racism. We're working on getting some guests in, but so it's a process, but we're trying.
Okay. I think I have listened to at least a couple of your shows before as well.
Do you know when the next program will be? Oh, and you, this is D, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know when the?
Probably Sunday. We usually do it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, but I'm kind of in the process of moving this week, so we're trying to aim for probably Sunday. We'll probably double up next week and do two programs next week.
Okay. So this Sunday, that's December 26th, the 19th, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. December 19th, right here, Blog Talk Radio, Reckless 2.0, Vickers, my man D, should be great, outstanding work. I don't really know other people who focus like exclusively on racism, like they'll talk about it every now and then, or sometimes they'll do a whole program on it, but I don't really know very many folks. I think Truth Will Out. I don't know if every program focuses on white supremacy, but Neely Fuller's been there. I think she had Dick Gregory there. She had a black female who I think did a book where she studied, she did a book where she studied black people, black females having sex with white men, and she wrote how bad it was and how harmful and how consistent it was amongst the people that she studied. I think she did a whole program on that at Truth Will Out.
Can you spell that? Because I think I've looked for it before and couldn't find it.
Truth Will Out.
Is it WIL?
If you're at Blog Talk, the easiest way to find it would be to just do a site search at Blog Talk for Neely Fuller, and you'll see it. Her show will pop up in the results, and then you can just click the title, and it'll take you to the title page. Okay. Will that work, you think?
Yeah, I'll try that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that should do it. The caller, I guess, I want to make sure information is being passed on. The caller that called in about the cowbell, just based on what you've heard today, have you got any new information about what the bell means? And if so, could you share that just to see if you shared anything constructive?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I only really caught like 20 minutes. I was kind of late, so I was kind of mad that he left early. I guess he was being a little baby, but yeah, so I didn't really hear much.
Oh, I mean, just the hints, I guess, that people gave about the cowbell. Did you gain anything new from what people said, or no?
You mean on right now? You're talking right now?
Yes. Yes, didn't you?
Not really, because I don't know if I was really paying attention because I'm like hiding out in the bathroom. I'm at work, and I'm also doing some things too. So.
Oh, okay.
That's why I put myself on mute.
You did say you were at work.
Yeah, I was like hiding in the bathroom. So.
I got it. Right on.
I'm gonna go back and re-listen to get home. Huh?
If you re-listen to this broadcast, you'll get a clear-cut meaning of what it means.
All right, cool. I'm going to do that when I get home. But Gus, thanks for the show. I wish you would have stayed more because I definitely want to ask you some questions, but I've been in the bathroom long enough, so it's time for me to go.
Sure. Work well, and call in. I'm curious, after you are able to listen to the show, you can call back in and let us know how you've progressed with the cowbell.
Okay, I will. All right, peace out.
Take care. We'll be in touch. Wow, that's great. People listening on the job, that's great. Right on. Counter racism at the workforce.
Gus, have you ever had any guests on the show that talked about survival preparation and things like that in case of an economic collapse?
I haven't, but I definitely should do that. Someone was just talking about that recently, and I thought, I should do that. So, yes, thank you for reminding me. I will make that a high priority.
If you're interested, there are tons and tons, and I mean tons of videos on YouTube of white people talking about that, telling you how to do it, getting wood-burning stoves, what cities you should or shouldn't be in, just all kind of very helpful information on that. Even white females. Actually, there's a guy that's got a pretty decent channel with a lot of information, so maybe I'll forward you one of his videos, and maybe you could get a hold of him.
Much obliged. That sounds like a plan.
No problem. Yeah, I hardly see any black people, maybe 2 or 3, speaking on that subject, and I just feel like that's something we really need to be thinking about.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
I did find something going through my junk papers the other day. I don't know where I copied this from. Well, I don't know if I copied it or someone else did. But it was interesting to read. It's a copy, I think, from Emerge magazine all the way back in 1998. It says, an interest in African-American culture is not an idle one. Madison Avenue has figured out that black Americans are among the country's top consumers. Depending on who you speak to, the purchasing power of African Americans in 1996 ranged from $367 billion, and as estimated by the black research company Target Market News, to $447 billion, according to the Selig Center for Economic Growth at the University of Georgia. The center estimates that the number will be $469 billion for 1997. African Americans are big purchasers of items ranging from soft drinks to clothing to fast food. For example, blacks were responsible for 25% of Coca-Cola's total sales in 1995, and McDonald's estimates that 15% of its sales are to African Americans. According to the African American Market, a September report issued by Packaged Facts, a New York-based company that compiles market research, black people spend more on clothing and related services than any other group. But not only do African Americans have deep pockets, they tend to be particular. African Americans are more label and brand name conscious than most consumers, marketing specialists say, and according to some, a lot more open to media marketing. African Americans are more likely to pay attention to advertising than any other group in America, says Marilyn Ken Foxworth, author of the book Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, and Rastus, Blacks in Advertising.
I'm nostalgic too.
That could be true, or that could be trickery. Get someone else up.
The McDonald's thing. Aren't black people 15% of the population? So, like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
No, but it would speak to our victimization that being 13% of the population, we would make up so much of McDonald's consumer market. They do market heavily to black people, though.
Yes, almost exclusively.
Actually, I do see a lot more marketing to black people from McDonald's than any other group of people that I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because I'm watching televisions with black programming on them. I don't know. But there is a giant billboard not too far from my house with a little black boy on it giving his grandfather a 6-pack of Coca-Cola bottles with a bow on it for Christmas, and a Christmas tree is behind him.
Wow. Do you know that in the segregated South that black people weren't even allowed to buy Coca-Cola?
No, didn't
my barber actually told me a story. He grew up in South Carolina during Jim Crow, and black people weren't even allowed to buy Coca-Cola.
No, I didn't know. Was it because it actually had Coke in it then, and they didn't want black people to get high and be out of control or something?
No, I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was that shopkeeper, and I really don't know the motivation. But that could be. But I do know that he did say that black folk weren't allowed to drink Coca-Cola, at least in his locality.
I agree with that. That's a good thing. They should ban it now for black kids, and especially in schools and all these inner city schools with pop machines in them. They should ban it now. Diabetes is running rampant in the black community, and that's partly the reason is what we drink.
Drink more water. Drink more water.
Agree.
No, I agree, but it's just sad.
I drink lots of water, just by the way.
You know what else I do? Because I'm a big juice person, and unfortunately, I do have a Starbucks habit. I found that if I don't want to just drink plain water, what I'll do is take some of my herbal tea and brew it, like let's say red raspberry tea, some detox tea. I'll brew it and let it sit, and then later on I'll get a cup of ice and pour it over, and instead of sugar, I use agave nectar to sweeten it.
Yes, that's great.
And it's pretty satisfying.
Good. Agave nectar is natural. Mexico. Also, you should try some herbs. Crave your appetite and your sugar. Like red clover and burdock, yellow dock, all natural herbs. It's a good thing, too. Get at your health food store. You can looking at that, add that into your tea. Just passing on constructive information.
I've been looking for some red clover tea myself. Oh, I just wanted to say there was someone on the show previously who made a prediction that Oprah Winfrey was going to reveal before she went to her new network that she was a lesbian. And Oprah Winfrey did an interview with Barbara Walters, I think it was last week, and she did address that issue. And the person that said it was incorrect. She patently denied that she's a lesbian and said that she has a man, and that's Stedman Graham, and that Gail is not her lover, and that she's not a lesbian, and that if she was, she would be open about it. I just hear people referring to other people as lesbians and homosexuals a lot without the evidence, and I kind of wish they would stop doing that. And in regards to other victims.
Either she's not telling the truth, or she wants the gay and lesbian dollar, because I was confused for a while.
Were you confused by something? Did you see her engaged in sexual activity with another female, or was it just because of the tabloids and the rumors?
No, it was because she was with a man for a long period of time, and they never had any offspring or were never married, and she kind of catered to more of her topics in the later years of her career. Were more. She had a lot of gay guests on her show, a lot of bisexual guests on her show, and her competition was I think Ellen was a new competition.
I think Oprah was doing those kind of topics before Ellen came on the scene, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just kind of cater to them, their topics.
Well, honestly, though, I don't expect her to do anything different than from what a lot of the white people do as far as that topic, because I've concluded, based on watching show after show this season and some of the old ones, that Oprah Winfrey's primary target audience is white females. Not black, but particularly white females, and that is her base. And white people, so those seem to be topics that they like hearing about. You know, I think most of her production company and the people that run it as well are white people. But she's still with Stedman Graham. She said it on the interview. She can't believe people think that they broke up or something. She said that because of, you know, the talking people would do and stuff like that whenever they'd be out, she made a conscious effort not to appear with him as much in public, I guess for the sake of their relationship. She said that if they don't regret not getting married, and they both agree had they gotten married, they would have been divorced by now because marriage brings on, I think she said expectations or something like that. Mm-hmm. So they're still together, but she said that they chose not to get married and that they're fine with it. She said as far as children, I don't think she wants any now, but she says she would have been one of those mothers where people would have been complaining because with as busy as she was with her show and the things she's been doing, she thinks any children she had would not have received the attention that children, you know, usually deserve or something. I guess she doesn't feel like she was fit to be a mother, basically, in accordance to what she's doing with her life. But I don't think not having children or not getting married to the person you're with is a cause to be accused of being a lesbian.
Oh, I didn't say she was. I was just confused. I was just saying maybe, maybe not. But I don't follow her that much. I just for her recognition and power and influence. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, she could be telling the truth or not telling the truth about it. I'm just saying if somebody's going to keep saying that she is all the time, it would be best to have evidence. Because I hear that done about Barack Obama as well.
Long Stedman's happy. That's all that matters.
He says he is. He said he got his own money.
Yes, hey, all he's happy. It's all that matters. She makes him happy. He's happy. It's all that matters.
I do.
You hear a lot of people saying.
Go ahead.
You hear a lot of people saying President Obama is gay.
Not a lot of people. Some people in particular repeat that a lot. I mean, I understand that he supports the homosexual agenda, and I'm not cool with that at all. But other than the Larry Sinclair, the white guy that claims he had a homosexual affair with him, I haven't seen evidence that the president is a homosexual, but I hear people speak about it as if it's a hard acknowledged fact, you know, and then talking about logical conclusions, like if you're a major political candidate and you're being accused of that, or someone else gets a hint that you might be and they don't use it against you, like politically, that doesn't make sense. But the logic they were using to try to connect the dots, it didn't make it a logical conclusion for me that he was a homosexual. But I hear people refer to him as a homo or, you know, a faggot, etc.
Do you hear this from other black people?
Yeah.
I think that tells you all you need to know.
I'm just saying, even as black people, if we're going to be on, you know, worldwide media, whether it's blog talk, radio, YouTube, whatever, we should at least try to be accurate with our information when we're going to characterize somebody as being something like that. At least have some evidence.
Oh, no, I agree. I was just saying that oftentimes black people, you know, think illogically. And, you know,
I agree with that.
Oftentimes spurt things out without evidence.
I think most especially we do that regarding other black people.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that could be rumors because this whole presidency and George Bush and what's his name, the guy who lost in 2004 were members of the secret society, and Tim Russert asked them these questions on his show before he passed on, and about the secret society and the rituals they do, and I guess there was rumors going around. I heard the rumors that Obama was also part of a secret society, and some of the things they do could be homosexual activity. I don't know, but that's what was started with Bush and I forget his name, John Kerry. That was it. Tim Russert asked these questions, and all of a sudden he ended up dead somehow. So, but that's probably where it all came from, because I heard the rumors before, but that was back when he was running for president.
Do you know that John Kerry and George Bush are cousins?
Yep, and so is Barack Obama and Barack Obama and the vice president. Yeah, Janie. They're also related.
Yeah, Barack Obama is also related to President Bush the first and his son. They're his cousins as well.
And they are all related to European royalty.
Right. Yeah, Barack Obama, he has bloodline relations with at least 6 U.S. presidents through his mother's bloodline.
And Neely Fuller told us it was royalty. That white supremacy was built off the royalty idea. So, who knows? Like you said earlier, we need to have more evidence before we accuse anybody of being whatever. And I agree.
Don't name call. I'm real opposed to that. Don't name call. It's not a good habit to get into.
Yeah, because I think that when you start name-calling, even if you were to apologize for it later, it'll make people not want to listen to you, even if you have something good to say or something constructive.
I would try hard, but I am a victim.
Yeah, I tend to do it from time to time.
Yeah. I'm pretty bad at that myself. I call Tater Pie, I call her a lot of names.
Yes, you do.
Quite a few names. Actually, name called Justice quite a bit as well, but I at least try to behave on the show.
Tater Pie, is your blog back up?
No, ma'am. If you send me your email, I could invite you.
Where do I send it?
miyamotaterpie@gmail.com. Or you could just put it on the cows page. Well, no, you don't do that. Yeah, just miyamotaterpie@gmail.com. And then
MLAMO taterpie@gmail.com?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I haven't wrote anything new, so yeah. But
Oh, did you guys hear about the story about the weather person? I think I got cut off when I was telling the weather lady from New York.
No, what happened?
This weather lady from New York. She was jogging in Central Park and claimed she got raped by a non-white, quote unquote, Hispanic male, and now she's in a lot of trouble because apparently that turned out not to be true. She admitted that she made the entire story up.
Did she say why?
No, she did not say why. Just like I don't think the girl from Seattle that said that, or somewhere out west that said someone threw acid in her face. I don't think that they said why either.
Why do so many white females have a habit of crying wolf all the time?
Attention. Want attention, I guess.
But you know what? It would seem to me that with white females' faces being the primary faces that dominate the magazines, the media, the television shows, that they should have enough attention.
Well, maybe it's not enough for them.
It's not enough.
Maybe not enough.
And it's that sexual thing, too. Man, I'll remember. It's that sexual thing. I was going to say, I've been able to kind of catch up on films a little bit and watch some movies in the downtime, and I Kill a Mockingbird. I would highly recommend watching that film and or reading the book. It is like I was watching it, and I was like, it was written by Harper Lee, white woman, and I was watching it, and it's told as a flashback, like she's telling the story as an adult, as a memory of her childhood, and her memory is of exactly this conversation, the newsroom in New York. Her childhood memory is of the summer when this white woman falsely accused this black man of raping her, and that's what the whole book is about. This trial, her dad Atticus Finch defending this black male Tom Robbins, defending him, and white people falsely accusing him of raping this white girl. And it's so ridiculous because, like, his left hand, he can't use it at all. Like, he's totally incapacitated with his whole left arm. He can't use it at all. And the doctor testifies, like, yeah, she had bruises. It's obvious somebody grabbed her around the neck. And the white guy's like, he can't even use his arm. Are you serious? This is crazy. Like, come on now. I mean, it's totally unbelievable. And they still convict him. Like, nope, he did it. Guilty is charged. Next. And he ends up, he tries to run and he gets killed, right? That's the story. But I'm watching this and I'm like, this Harper Lee, that's the white woman who wrote it, this is like a total, is necrophilia, and this is just like a total sadomasochistic sexual novel. Like it is a white woman sexually fantasizing, reminiscing about having sex with a black male and practicing racism at the same time. It's like the idea of having sex with a black person, and you can get this person killed, like at the drop of a dime. Like if anything goes wrong, if you don't like it, whatever, you can get this person killed. All you have to do is say the word, and white people will do it, even when it's obvious nothing happened, even when it's totally obvious that it didn't go down. You can have this person, like, you can practice race. It's like the ultimate of practicing racism, to have sex with that black person and be able to totally dispose of them afterwards. Like, man, it's that's just what I was thinking watching the film. Like, everything about it is just like, this is in celebration of white people doing this. And I was thinking I would further evidence that because there's so many films, it continues to happen. There's so many movies and films where this is the plot of the film: a black person being falsely accused of rape. Freedom Land, it happens again. Sam Jackson, black person falsely accused of, doing whatever, taking advantage of this white woman and stealing her car or whatever. In Freedom Land with Sam Jackson. I don't think these are social commentaries. This is just white people like fantasizing about having sex with a black person and the whole lynching of a black person. It's like exciting for black people. I think that's it's attention. It's exciting. It's thrilling. Like, that's just a part of it. That's a part of the conditioning of racism, white supremacy, I think.
And after hearing you summarize To Kill a Mockingbird as being about a white female sexual fantasy with black males, you think, man, we read that in elementary school. Like, that was standard reading.
The American classic.
Totally. The white chick, she was on the show. I was just going to say the white woman was on the show this summer, Diane Roberts. I asked her if it would be accurate to say that white women have written the three most important novels in this area of the world. She said yes, and that was one of the three that I named: To Kill a Mockingbird, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, I think white people have repeatedly demonstrated that their artwork about racism, white supremacy, about white people practicing white supremacy is, they regard these things as classics. I mean, the three novels that you just mentioned, You Want to Go to Britain, To the Heart of Darkness, Nigger and the Narcissist, and these are things that, white people hold highly, and, people have to read this stuff in graduate school, elementary school, middle school, everywhere.
Oh, there's a new show coming out. I took note of this in the teaser for it. I think it's called The Cape, where a white man is being, I guess, trained to be a superhero. But I noticed, kind of like The Matrix, where it's a black man that's grooming him or preparing him to be the hero. I think it's on it's either ABC or NBC, where I saw the commercial for it. But it just reminds me of how it seems like the black person is always in the role of being servant to or preparing the white person to be the hero, but like never the star hero themselves. Or except in the case like with Hancock, but he was a bumbling, destructive, drunk superhero who still
until the white man fixed him.
But then he was banished to the moon.
But the white man fixed him. Like, he had made everything better at that point. And he was away from the white woman.
Yeah, that's how he fixed him. Fixed you.
Got him away from him. I just saw iRobot, too. There's another one where you get a black, so-called black hero, but he's tormented because a white woman died. It shows the total worthlessness of black life. He's the hero, but he's tormented. He's contemplating suicide because a robot saved his life instead of this little white girl's life. It's ridiculous. She has an 11% chance of living, and he has, I think it's a 45% chance of living. So that's how the robot made the decision. And Will Smith is just that's absurd. I thought it was a great illustration of the illogic of white supremacy, that it doesn't matter what the situation is, what the circumstances are, black life is never supposed to be worth more than white life. Never, 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 never. I don't care what the circumstances are, that's never supposed to happen. and he's just like, he's ready to kill himself. He's sleeping with his gun. Like, he's having dreams about this. Like, totally his whole life is in shambles because he lived so that this white woman, a white woman had to die for him to continue living. And he just, it's just unbearable for him.
Gus, you want to know what's funny? I was taking a nap before I woke up and tuned into the show, and I forgot what I dreamed about until you mentioned him being guilty over the white child living. I woke up from a bad dream where I dreamed I walked into, I guess it was my place. There was a room of 3 people, and I think one was an adult and 2 were children, and it was like their mouths and body parts were on the floor like something had removed all their dental, everything was on the floor, and they were bloody and their eyeballs were gouged out, and I looked up and it was this white child and they were going to try to get me killed. And I tried to scream, but this wouldn't come out, and then I woke up.
Wow.
I was dreaming about killer white kids.
Damn.
Are you going to have Dr. Kevorkian back on the show anytime soon?
I was just thinking of that. I was trying to think of films that I would like to watch, and I wanted to do older films like Raisin in the Sun with Sidney Poitier and Astro Boy. Oh, Astro Boy, Tater Pie, Astro Boy. The scene where Tater Pie actually called my attention to this, where they're ridiculing like the Black Power. She thinks the Black Power people in Astro Boy, the way they're making fun of these robots, that they say they're revolutionary, and they can't even buy a feather. Like they don't have any weapons or anything. They got all these grandiose words about going to war with these white people, but they don't have anything. They're a joke. They're a joke. But Astro Boy, Raisin in the Sun, White Dog, phenomenal film. Maybe even White Man's Burden. I just watched that. That's pretty good too. John Travolta, Harry Belafonte. But yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering, a guest on your show that was back in the day, I used to watch her YouTube clips of Sister Soldier. She's never been on your show.
I have been trying. A listener in the Netherlands, he I think the show had been on the air like 4 months, and he was like, why don't you have Sister Soldier on? And I've emailed, I've called and emailed, and I just haven't been able to make it happen. If anybody out there, if you have connects and you can, shoot her a word, maybe send her a link to the program, some that, not this one, but, maybe with Dr. Welsman, so she'll think we actually are trying to do something serious. Yeah, I'd totally be down to have her on the show.
I have another guest idea, someone who I think was pretty notable and significant in the 90s, Shahrazad Ali. Do you remember her?
What did she do?
She used to wear the Nefertiti-styled hats, and she was on the Donahue show, different shows like that a lot. But she wrote the book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman, and then The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man. She was pretty controversial because, for one, she called black women to be responsible in their role in the condition of the black community. But I think most controversial was a comment she made about telling the black men if the black women talked too much or sassing back to pop her in her mouth. Of course, black females like that. But then she told black males to stop complaining and begging about not being able to job, and the white man won't give me a job. She said, well, if you know he won't give you a job, quit asking. Make your own. But aside from comments people didn't like, looking back on it today, it's just interesting to me how 20 years later the same problems exist and the same gender wars foolishness is still going on. But in her age, I'm wondering what she would say to the conditions of this generation of black people today.
Doesn't she look just like, or doesn't Queen Latifah take her image when she first came out? She kind of looked just like Queen Latifah.
I'm not sure who came out first, but they were definitely both wearing the Nefertiti style crowns.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Popular. Yeah, she's a lighter, black female. Little on the heavier side. She was probably in her, I would say she was probably about 50 back then.
I was wondering if Queen Latifah got her whole image from her. That's why I was asking, because she seemed a little older. So.
I just watched Kush the Black Unifier's video on racism, white supremacy, and entertainment, and I heard the clip he had from Primeval, where I believe it's Orlando Jones has the line in the film. They're in Africa, of course, and white people are, they're being white, and he's like, just there for comic relief to be stupid. And one of his lines, he gets lost in the woods and he's cursing Africa like, oh, I hate it here. I can't wait to get out of Africa. And he has this long march and he says, slavery, I wouldn't care what it was. Slavery is the best thing that happened to us. Anything to get out of Africa is all right. Like, oh, I hate that. He says this in the film. It's incredible. If you can just watch Cush's DVD and it'll give you the whole scene. But anyway, I just watched that like Saturday and I was stunned. Like, oh my God, white people are just, man. And then I heard this Mr. Edgerton, our guest today, where he said the same thing. We came out way better. Being here, slavery was a learning institution. I was just like, wow, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would hear two black people in such a short period of time expounding on the wonderfulness of slavery. And, big ups for the slave people. Right on.